Hey, Mike, what do Kelly Slater and PT have in common?
I don't know. They're both world champs?
Nope, they both own Endless Summer box set.
Oh my God, rad. You guys, you can get it too. The link's in the show notes.
Went down to Waimea Bay. What a fantastic sunny day. Boys and girls hanging round. Surfers going up and down. That's when I caught my wave. Knew what to do. Surf that wave right to the shore. And it's dreams come true.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Quivercast. I am Mike, your host. Let's get into the show. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Quivercast, and today we are stoked. We actually have a big wave world champ, Jamie Sterling, on the show. How are you doing, Jamie?
I'm doing good. Thanks, Mike, for having me on your show.
Super stoked. So I'm going to start off being a big wave guy and a big wave world champ. Did you have dreams of that when you were younger?
Yeah, definitely aspired to, accomplish what I've accomplished, and kind of fell in love with riding bigger waves in my teen years, and it's been a lifelong journey to get to where I am today, and definitely to visualize what I wanted to do.
So when you started surfing, like you were surfing, like everyone else, we all start off, we're in the whitewash or whatever. So when did you know you liked the bigger waves? Early on, or was it later on in life?
Yeah, pretty early on. Just kind of gravitated to the outside waves, like surfing sunset on some bigger days to start with, and kind of progressed living in Hawaii and growing up here, that we have such a gamut of 1 foot to 60-foot waves here. So there's a lot of room to grow if you want to grow. And I kind of made a pact when I was younger to kind of go 1 foot bigger every winter. And
Okay.
that was kind of my little small time kid goal, was like, okay, this year I'm going to surf 5 foot, next year 6 foot, and slowly progressed to, riding 20-foot waves, 40-foot face waves by the time I was like 17. So yeah, I just kind of gravitated towards it. I like the challenge. I like being different. There wasn't a lot of kids pursuing that type of surfing, so figured out it's going to separate me from the pack. So kind of just took that route.
Wow, amazing. Let's start in the beginning. Like, did you grow up in Hawaii, and then that got you into, like, why did you start surfing?
I started surfing because my family surfed. My dad was a surfer. He raised me on the beach on the North Shore here, just surrounding myself in this environment. Growing up in this environment on the North Shore, it's kind of hard to not be a surfer. I'd say you'd have to try. It would be harder to not be a surfer than to be a surfer. I think it's easier to be a surfer if you grow up out here. And it was just lifestyle. Was just born into this lifestyle of surfing and being on the beach daily.
Okay. Well, fast forward to today. Do you ever burn out on that?
No, but
Or do you still love
I
it?
still love surfing, and I love surfing any type of waves. Really, it doesn't really matter. Longboarding on a 1 foot day or towing in on a big wave doesn't really matter. I always just find I'm always a happier, calmer person after a surf session, and doesn't really have to be epic waves or big waves. To just get in the water, and even if it's for 45 minutes to an hour, just get out there and get wet and on with the day.
Perfect. Okay, so your dad surfed. Do you even remember your first wave, or is it like you were so young you don't even remember?
Yeah, I remember the first waves ridden were on the front of my dad's board out at Camiland. He had an orange Hobie Fletcher squared off nose longboard.
Wow.
And I vividly remember that, and had like a orange life vest. And yeah, we lived on the beach at Cammy's, so we lived right next door to Ken Bradshaw. And yeah, he got me out there in some little waves, and I've been surfing ever since.
So you're growing up and you're around like these legends like Ken Bradshaw and all the other North Shore guys. At what age did you remember paddling out with like on a decent sized day and these guys are next to you and like, and how are they rooting you on or how's that going?
Yeah, most everybody was pretty supportive to see a young kid in the lineup. A couple guys were questioning me on if my parents knew that I was out here. But yeah, for the most part, everyone was pretty supportive, and the guys that were questioning me were just want to know that I got the okay to come out. Yeah. So everyone was, North Shore, small community, everybody knows each other out here, especially, 20 years ago or even longer, there was less people, so it was definitely just real tight-knit community, and of course, once you get in the ocean, it gets even more tighter because, there's only the regulars that surf those spots are the regulars, and they know who's who and what kids who and where all that. So I was very supportive, and I think just the climate or the place where I grew up, so much talent out here, so much history, and the level of surfing is so high. When you surround yourself with people that are better than you, that's how you get better at everything.
Yeah. So how old were you at this point? Like when you're paddling out and they're saying, "Hey, does your mom and dad know you're out here?"
I'm in my teens. I'm like probably I'm like 15 or so. Surfing Sunset, surfing Small Waimea.
Like solid Sunset?
Yeah, surfing solid Sunset on like a 7.6 gun. Surfing Waimea on like a 9.0 gun. And
so do you remember your first time paddling out at Sunset?
I mean,
like good Sunset?
Yeah, I remember some days when I was in my teens. I remember like paddling out, and like Robbie Page was paddling out, and he was super supportive of me, and he was stoked to see me out there, and he helped me definitely get some good waves. And Ken Bradshaw ended up actually making me some boards, and when I was a teenager, he made me a quiver one year.
Oh, rad.
So Ken was shaping some boards for me, and kind of went on to riding some Kirk Bjerkes, and Kirk is an underground big wave charger. He used to live out here. He lives in Australia now, and he's got his son Russell Bjerke, which is a staple in the big wave community now and charging. He's a pro big wave surfer, Russell. But
wow, okay.
So guys like Kirk and Ken and even Gary Linden. So there's all these like big wave shapers that rode big waves, kind of like saw what I was doing and wanted to, help me keep riding bigger waves. So guys like Gary Linden were like some of my first board sponsor when I was like 12 years old. Gary was sponsoring me, a few boards a year. Yeah, I think that's how I met Taj Tucker, which is a kid from Oceanside. Good friend of mine, and that's how we met. But so there's definitely always been supportive people that wanted to see me progress to, keep going and ride big waves.
Was the big wave game always? I mean, so you said it earlier. You wanted to be a big wave guy, but what about like regular contests and stuff as you were progressing? Were you surfing regular like NSSAs and stuff?
Yeah, I was. I was competing a bit in the NSSAs and the HSFs and stuff out here. Yeah. It was never like I'd make 70 or 80% of the finals. I never won. I kind of placed in the back half of the final. I was never the best small wave surfer, but made some finals here and there, but I could tell early on I wasn't really cut out for the small wave, surfing like competitively. There was kids that were much better than me growing up. So I figured, hey, I'm actually better than them when the waves get big. That's kind of when I shine. So I just kind of gravitated towards that because that came more natural to me. And that was something like, as far as like trying to market yourself and get sponsors, I was like, well, you kind of try to figure out how to separate yourself and make yourself stand out amongst all these other kids that surf really good. And that's what I did. And that was my secret password into getting into, different sponsorships and different events and creating a niche in the surfing world.
Smart. Yeah. So you said you were a natural, and you knew that early on, I guess, right? Kind of.
I mean, not super early on, but I don't know, I got like a lot of like notoriety for that, and people were like, okay. I got more of a buzz and more of like more support when I would surf bigger waves than when I'd go to a contest. So I stopped doing the contests probably when I was around 16 or so. I just kind of like doing the towel on the amateur stuff and just more focused on surfing Big Sunset and surfing Waimea. And yeah, just kind of started, doing that. And then I slowly got better sponsorships to where I could start traveling the world. Eventually, by the time I was 19 years old, I was on my first trip to South Africa to compete in a contest over there at Dungeons. So yeah, that's kind of like the starting point for my like traveling internationally for big waves. I did some other trips previously when I was younger for some small events, and got to travel to France with Ralph Sun, and got to go to the NSA Nationals at Lowers and all that back in the day. But come 19, I was like, I'm going to South Africa to go charge Dungeons.
Wow. So you're surfing big, heavy Sunset and even Waimea and stuff. Do you have a memorable day as a teenager surfing Sunset? One day that stood out like above the rest? Or they all kind of bleed together?
Kind of bleed together. I just remember like how daunting it was to be out there and try to like navigate the West Peak. The West Peak at sunset is pretty scary. It comes out of deep water and comes in with a lot of velocity and a lot of power, and it's a legit deep water big wave. It doesn't really get like 50 foot or anything, but it holds a lot of power for the size. Once it's like 12-foot Hawaiian, like 25-foot faces, it's just as solid as say 15-foot Waimea or so. Just doesn't get the height, but it's I actually think 12-foot Sunset is like heavier than 15-foot Waimea, because of just that's like the max out point for Sunset.
Okay.
And when Sunset's starting to max out, there's a lot of water moving. So that was like, again, I think Sunset was definitely like a good training ground, helped me get into other waves that were deep water waves, and then to progress from there to go to surf the outer reefs down the North Shore. And I think it complemented the whole like path, the whole journey I was on. So being proficient at Sunset translated over to being proficient at other deep water waves, because that was a wave I could surf all the time throughout the winter. It's very consistent.
Were there heavy crowds back then, and is the heavy crowd still today? It seems like the limelight's pushed away from Sunset than it was in like the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah, I would say like there's still a crowd out there, but it's not like a professional crowd. It's more like blue collar recreational surfers with the odd pro mixed in. But yeah, definitely the limelight for like the pros and the cameras and all the fame stuff is all happening at Pipeline these days. It's definitely shifted. So yeah, it's but yeah, you still get guys out there. Even the guys that aren't pros there's some really good underground surfers, just like anywhere.
Of course.
Any lineup.
Yeah.
And the crowds never really bothered me, just because growing up in Hawaii, just because of my knowledge, I don't really look at the people. I look at my lineups, and the lineups help me catch the waves.
Now, Waimea, do you remember the first time you paddled out there? And what was that feeling like?
I had some really fun sessions as a teenager. I don't totally recall like my first time, but surfed it. We call it pinballs when it's not like, when it's under a certain size, we call it pinballs. It's a little bit further in, breaks a little bit closer to the rocks, but it's still it's a good starting point for anybody that's trying to learn to surf Waimea. What I remember most about surfing Waimea was the drop was way more technical, way more steep, but you had like less of a wall to ride, but you just had to make that like bottom turn to get around the whitewater and survive that whitewater, explosion behind you. So that was a lot different than, surfing Sunset, because it was just a different wave.
And these two waves we're talking about, they're backside for you too, right?
Yeah, these are both right. Some goofy foot. Going right or left doesn't really bother me. Okay. They're all the same to me. It's all surfing. it's all the same language.
You don't feel more comfortable surfing I can't think of a lot of huge, I'm sure there are more lefts,
You're talking about the rights
The
and
front
lefts.
side or back side?
Yeah, it doesn't really
Yeah.
matter to me. I actually feel like when you're surfing a right, sometimes for me, it's when I'm going backside on a right, which actually may be a little bit less intimidating because I don't have to look at it in the eye.
Okay. That's a good point, I guess.
Yeah, so I don't know, but that's just the way I grew up out here. There's more rights, but now we have the outer reefs, which there's more lefts on the outer reefs, so it's good. Now
Okay.
I surf a lot of that. I surf a lot of the outer reefs these days, just because Waimea is such a crowded scene nowadays. With the introduction and invention of the flotation and paddle vest, that's really created more people in the lineup. So I try to venture off to other waves that are further out in the ocean, and it's less people out there and less people in general. So I like surfing those waves, and they're mostly left. So being a goofy footer, it's kind of nice for me to go left, and they're very challenging, very hollow. It's like the last frontier out there.
I don't know why I'm even asking this, but it's kind of funny. Do you ever try to do like switch foot or anything?
No, I never grew up learning how to ride switch.
Okay. You go to these outer reefs. So are you wearing a device these days?
These days I am on once it gets above like 15 foot, I'll throw on the inflation. Once it's like 12 to 15, I may wear like the static impact vest with doesn't have inflation. It's just a built-in kind of life vest wetsuit.
Yeah.
And then once it gets above 15, I'll wear the Patagonia blow-up suit. So it's good. It's definitely a good insurance plan. It's definitely pushed the sport to new heights and made it, more, I guess, more extreme, and more people are going for it harder and surfing bigger and going deeper. But then there's that double-edged sword where a lot of people are going too deep, and I call it the go straight inflate mentality. Whereas like they're just pushing themselves too deep and they're not going to even make the wave, and they're just going for the shot to get to the bottom and try to get a shot in a big wave. And I kind of frown on that just because I feel like it's not really like sustainable, and it's not really like you're not really surfing the wave correctly. Like you should be out there like taking off as deep as you can, but making the wave, not like going too deep and just going straight. To me, it's kind of lame when I see guys doing that just to get the shot and then like try to get a big wave reward off it or something.
Yes. I see your point.
Yeah.
With that flotation device, it gives more access to people. Do you think there's people out there that maybe shouldn't be out there?
Oh yeah.
With false security?
100%. If we were able to say, okay, no vest today, nobody can wear a vest, I bet you at least a quarter of the people would not paddle out. Maybe even half of the people wouldn't paddle out.
Do you think it's a false security for them?
Yeah, it's definitely a false security. And it's that double-edged sword. It's good and bad. It's good and bad. It's good for everybody, regardless. But it's bad when guys go out over their limits because they feel protected because they're wearing their vest.
Right.
I feel like you should rely on your training, your conditioning, rely on your knowledge, and then the vest comes in like after all that is solidified. Then you can bring in the vest. But if you don't have like good training ethics, you don't have good local knowledge of the break, or you don't surf it regularly, I feel like there's a lot of guys with false sense of security and just a lot of kooks out there, like at Waimea these days. A lot of kooks that are they have their 10-foot gun and their vest, and they're gonna paddle out.
Let's go way back to, you said when you were 19. I think it's Dungeons, right?
Yeah, I mentioned traveling to surf South Africa.
Right? Okay. You didn't know the wave, but how was paddling out there the first time? And it's cold water there too, right?
Yeah, it's really cold water, really sharky. A lot of great white sharks in the area.
Kind of kelpy.
Super intimidating just to be in a foreign land. The only comforting thing for me was surfing with some of the best guys in the world, and we did have some safety teams out there watching over us. And for us, we didn't have vests back then. Like I grew up surfing big waves prior to the vest coming up, into fruition. And so I always just relied on my physical training and my mental confidence to surf these waves. But yeah, I was definitely intimidated traveling there and participating, in some cold water surfing is definitely way different than surfing board short.
Right. I mean, you're surfing sunset is warm, 70 degrees probably every day. Waimea, 70. How cold's the water? Do you know when you went out there? You're wearing booties and everything too.
Yeah. It's like surfing up at Mavericks. You're wearing a 543 or 54 with 5 mil booties, hood. You're fully covered up in neoprene.
So how does that mentally? How did you approach that?
I would say
because it's a whole new world.
Yeah, whole new world, whole new outfit. Wearing all the rubber. Actually, it was okay. I mean, I kind of at first it was a little struggle, especially to get used to like wearing booties and all that. Because
that was my question.
Booties definitely give you way more grip, and if you get your foot in the wrong spot, it's harder to move it around.
Yes.
But it was a learning process, and I got to go back year after year for about 10 years. So, after a while, it was second nature, wearing wetsuits and traveling.
Okay.
But definitely when I was younger, it was a bit of a shock to put on the wetsuit and get acclimated and deal with the ice cream headaches and all that you deal with in cold water. But I enjoyed it. Yeah.
You were 19. You're stoked. I mean, how rad's that?
Oh yeah, I was super pumped. I was sponsored by Red Bull at the time, and getting to travel to South Africa, and they took such good care of us. They'd rent a house for a month and give us a car and free gas.
Okay, cool.
Stock the fridge with food, and we just had the weird, just living like rock stars.
So cool.
And they made us party. They made us go out because it was Red Bull. So they were like sponsored all the best bars and clubs in Cape Town. So we had a really good time in and out of the water those years. It was like the golden years of big wave surfing. It was before Gary started the tour, the big wave tour, and it was just such a great time to be a part of that big wave community of competitive surfing and being able to travel and be that young and get to see the world.
In Hawaii, where it's quite crowded, how's the crowd there?
In South Africa? It wasn't very crowded. Nobody was really surfing dungeons except the people I was with. So, it wasn't very crowded.
Just you guys.
There was just us. It was a small handful of us, maybe 20 guys or so that would surf it. Surfing other waves too, near dungeons and around Cape Town, and got to travel up to Jeffreys Bay and stuff, and a little more crowded up there, but not too bad at all. The crowds are pretty mellow, and people are pretty friendly.
Yeah, right on. Okay, so you have these years of you're hanging out with the big wave guys. Are you guys all friends?
Yeah, we're all friends for the most part. Yeah, everyone's pretty supportive of each other, and we're
supportive.
Both. I think competitive when the contest horn sounds, but supportive when it's a free surf session. Competitive a little bit when it's free surf, but it's not like cutthroat snaky style competitive. Just competitive to a point to where it helps push the sport and elevate everybody's performance.
That's right. Not so cutthroat like a regular heat at I don't know, Oceanside or something.
Yeah, where it's like you kind of have to there's like when you're surfing a big wave event, you're surfing more like against the ocean, or because you're not really worried about like lack of waves. Mm-hmm. It's positioning and patience and executing at the right moments, finishing the ride to get the good score and good wave selection, those type of things. So it's definitely not as cutthroat as like a small wave gravel contest in Oceanside or something. Different competitive.
So you're stoked if one of your buddies, even though they're in your heat or whatever, you're stoked that they got a really good wave, kind of thing. Yeah,
you're stoked. I mean, you're definitely like, I better get a good wave too now if he got one, because now it's still a heat, but you're definitely like pretty pumped to see somebody go big and successfully ride the wave, and it helps you actually elevates your performance and pushes you to try harder when you see somebody,
Yeah.
Pull off the miracle wave or, an amazing ride. So I think, seeing somebody actually do it and then you go and be like, hey, I want to try to do that too, or try to do it better than they did.
Yeah. So they had a big wave tour. Where is that today?
There is no tour anymore, unfortunately. Yeah. The World Surf League kind of came in and acquired the tour from Gary Linden and pretty much buried it. Like they kind of, they never really did anything with it. When it was grassroots and we didn't have much support, Gary had like 4 or 5 events slated per year.
Yes, he did.
And all the events wouldn't always happen because, there's a minimum criteria and need swell and conditions to come together. But there was a really good tour at the time. We had, Mavericks, we had Todos Santos, we had Peru, we had Chile, we had Oregon, Jaws. Good handful of those waves were on that tour, and kind of a bummer it doesn't really exist anymore.
Total bummer.
Yeah.
And you guys don't know why that just
I think it got buried because the WSL didn't want the big wave tour to surpass or rub shoulders with the regular CT tour that they're most committed to. I think if they were committed, they could make it happen, but they don't want it to take the limelight. Because I think it would definitely take the limelight. Because if you're
everyone wants to watch it.
Yeah, and even if you're not a surfer, watching a guy on a big wave is going to be more appealing than watching a guy at lower trestles. If you don't know anything about
100%.
surfing, just visually
100%.
Visually watching a guy on a big wave is appealing to anybody. Versus
it's you against Mother Nature.
Yeah, it's just that gladiatorial, that Roman gladiatorial thing, man versus nature and survival of the fittest, and it's just but just visually, it's just people want to see that, and I think WSL just kind of squashed it for those reasons.
Such a bummer.
Yeah, hats off to Gary for his dream, and made it happen for a handful of years. I think, maybe 5 years or so we had it, and then it kind of fell off. But maybe one day it'll come back. Who knows? Somebody could easily make their own tour, and we don't really need the WSL's blessing, or we don't need the WSL support. We just need some sponsorship support from a company that's got some pockets for marketing, and we could do something else again,
Is there any ramblings or any gossip that something's possibly down the line, or
nothing that I've heard of? I know Gary's got the Todos event sort of going with some people down there. There's no full tour that's strung together for accumulative points like it was.
Going back to what you said, I think if you want Middle America to watch surfing, big wave event is there. Anybody can watch it and understand it, basically.
Totally, yeah.
They may not understand what's going on in Huntington.
Yeah, and it doesn't even. We could just think outside of America. Just think of middle of the world,
right?
Anybody who just appreciates watching a human challenge themselves in a certain sport, especially big waves, live, on pay-per-view or whatever which way they could figure out how to create the money and income to run it.
I would pay it.
Yeah, I think that would be a pretty good way to do it.
So how many big wave events are there? You said when there was one at Todos he has kind of lined up. Is there anything else you know about?
I mean, they have the Jaws contest that WSL runs, and then they have the tow-in at Nazare that WSL runs, and then there's the Eddie Cal, but all these are
which they're not involved in.
Yeah, they're not involved. These are all standalone events, so nothing really connects. It's just everything's standalone, kind of how it was before Gary launched the Big Wave Tour back in.
Yeah.
Gary launched it, I think, in 2009 or 2009, and then so before that it was just the same kind of what it is now. So it's kind of a shame that it hasn't really taken off or it hasn't really progressed, because here we are I don't know, whatever, 13 years later, and there's still no tour.
Right. It makes, it blows my mind, but anyhow, crazy. So let's talk about, since you brought up the Eddie, you've been invited, right? Lots of times.
Yeah, I've been invited since I was 19 years old.
Wow.
So it's always been a blessing to be a part of that event.
Of course.
It's definitely one of the highest honors to get the letter from them, saying that you're invited and being a part of that. because that's
Yeah.
really like the first big wave event that's ever been, thing for big wave surfing, and
Mm-hmm.
to honor Eddie, and Waimea being one of the first well-known big wave spots in the whole world. It's kind of like
Yeah.
the roots of paddle and surfing kind of derives from Waimea.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite big wave go-to wave?
My favorite's probably like Phantoms or Himalayas, which are two outer reefs on the North Shore that we have.
Oregon, you said Oregon. How's surfing up there?
Oregon's super cold. It's beautiful up there. It's challenging with the conditions. It's hard to get a good clean day up there, I'd say. I think they only get a handful on a good winter, maybe 5 days a year. That's really good. I mean, I could be wrong because I'm not there up all the time. So I love the wave up there. Nelscott Reef is an amazing wave, and South Reef right next to it, and that's where the event was, and got to go there a bunch during the tour days and stuff. And I left the board there that hope to get back there maybe this winter on a small
Really?
chase
Okay.
or something.
Yeah.
It's nice because it's not crowded like Mavericks is.
Mm-hmm.
It takes more logistic to get out there because it's further out. And there's a huge shore break to get through. It's like a huge shore break, kind of like Ocean Beach, but like
Okay.
gnarlier. So you kind of need like some jet ski support to surf that wave. So that's kind of the difference of like Mavericks. You can pretty much like paddle out from the
Yeah,
shore
like-
at Mavs to get out.
You can go around.
You can go around, or so it's just a bit more logistics to make it happen. And I think fewer days of clean surf
Yeah.
up there because
And much colder, right? It's pretty
I would
cold.
say it's like Mavs. I would say it's once it gets to that low 50s, upper 40s, it's just cold at that point. Cold is cold. I mean, you're wearing the same gear, so you're only going to be as warm as, how good your equipment is. And you're wearing a 5'4" up there with 5 mil gloves and boots and hood. It's definitely cold though. Yeah.
Yeah. Does that hamper like dropping in?
Nah, not really. I think once you get used to wearing wetsuits, it's actually,
Okay.
you actually feel maybe a little bit more protection wearing all the
Okay.
rubber because you have that like extra 5 mil of skin on you, and you do actually have more flotation because of the wetsuit.
Yeah.
And you can still stay out for like 3 or 4 hours at a time with these wetsuits we have these days. Like I wear
A little more flexible.
yeah, I
Too.
wear Matisse sweatsuits, and they're really comfortable and warm and flexible, and they don't
Oh,
don't
yeah.
absorb a lot of water, so
Okay.
they stay pretty light on your body. So yeah, I think equipment's come a long way.
Yeah, it does.
I think it's just you just have to get used to it, like anything. If you're not used to wearing wetsuits,
What was your heaviest situation you ever been in?
um,
Or have you had several?
one of my heavier ones was probably like when I dislocated my shoulder at Waimea. It wasn't even like a big wave, but it was just a heavy injury that took me a long time to come back from. Took me like 6 months to rehab my shoulder to where I could surf a big
Wow.
wave again. So I always count that as my heaviest one because that one messed me up the most in the head and really took the wind out of me and my like self-esteem, and kind of got depressed during that
Really?
moment because I never really dealt with like a sidelining injury like that to where I couldn't surf. So it was like 4 months till I could actually like ride a longboard and just go like surf little waves. Tore up my shoulder pretty good. But yeah, so that was definitely the one that
Was
the
that
one
the longest you ever
tested
been
me.
out of the water?
Yeah, definitely the longest I've been out of
Yeah.
the water. Yeah, 4 months till I could actually surf, and then
Wow.
6 months until I could surf again. But came back strong, and the next year I won the world title right after that. So I think
Right.
it just everything happens for a reason sometimes, and I just did a lot of visualization during that process and rehabbed it very diligently to make myself come back stronger than ever, and catapulted me to winning a world title, a year later.
Right. Let's talk about the world title year. So, was it 2011?
Yeah.
you won?
Yep, correct.
How many events did you guys surf that year?
That year was just 2 events. It was just
Just 2 events.
Oregon and Peru.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So just a couple events that year. Waves were really good in both events though. Yeah, I just ended up having the better results at both of those events.
So rad.
I won Peru, and then I think I placed like third or something at Mel Scott to
Wow.
get me, the most points that year.
Well, the Big Wave World Tour they slotted like, what, 5 or 6 events, but they didn't necessarily run every year.
Yeah,
Right?
it's hard to get all of them to run just because of weather conditions and swell height.
It all had to come together.
It all had to come together, yeah, exactly.
At what point do you realize, okay, so I got it locked in, like, and how did you feel?
I never really knew I had it locked in until
Until the
season was over, because I was leading after Oregon happened, and then there was still time to run another event, but then the other event didn't happen, and then I won. So once that happened, once the season, the North Pacific, Northern Hemisphere season closed, then I knew that I secured it. So yeah,
it's so cool.
Yeah, it was really nice lifelong goal to check off the list, and nice title to have.
Surfing, and big wave surfing in particular, is that really a sport, or is it more of a lifestyle, or how would you describe big wave surfing, like, to put it in a box if you had to?
It's a sport. It's a lifestyle and a sport. You really have to live it, but you have to work at it really hard, like any sportsman would. You have to train like an athlete and think like an athlete, do everything any other pro athlete would be doing to propel themselves for success. But it's also a lifestyle that we choose to live, and it's becomes like a it's a priority, right? To follow the waves, follow the conditions, follow the forecasting, follow your workout program. All of it has to come together these days to make, to propel yourself to be the best surfer you can be. Surfers these days are taking it, way more seriously than they did in the 90s or even early 2000s. Everyone's got a trainer, a coach, a nutritionist. There's all these modalities to help you recover, and just all these different techniques, and the list goes on with all the advancements in health and nutrition that we have today to really make yourself a solid athlete.
Yeah. You're doing coaching too, right?
Yeah, I'm coaching people. I guide people. I do beginner surf lessons. I cater to all levels, beginners to advanced.
Okay.
I also train people in the gym. So I do all of that. Yeah, that's kind of my my entrepreneurial business, which is on jamiesterling.com. You can book a session with me. I go on trips with people. They take me on their trips to wherever they want to go, and they want to guide or coach with them, or when they come to Hawaii, I help people out.
Okay.
So
that's so awesome.
Yeah, it's nice to pass the torch on and help people achieve their goals.
What's normal age bracket you get?
Any age is fine with me.
Perfect.
Yeah, just as long as you're enthusiastic about learning and have an open year and you want to capitalize on your vacation and get the best waves possible while you're in Hawaii or elsewhere.
That's so cool.
I can help make that happen.
That's rad. That's all part of the surf adventure, right?
Yeah.
The Jamie Sterling surf adventure.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. You've been all over the world, just traveling, surfing everywhere, right?
Correct, yeah.
So what's some of your favorite places to go?
I really came to liking Fiji lately. I love traveling to Fiji and love going to Mexico. Those are probably two of my favorites, I'd say, between Fiji and Mexico. Yeah.
Plus, you're at home. It's perfect at home all the time, a lot of times too, right?
Yeah, Hawaii. It's hard to beat Hawaii. It's just so easy, conveniently located. All the waves we have here within like 20-minute span, you can kind of check out so many different waves when you're on the North Shore. That's what makes the North Shore such a special destination for surfing.
What about some of the other islands in there? You like to go to?
Yeah, I love going to Kauai. It's probably my favorite island outside of Oahu. They have amazing surf over there.
Fun
times over there, yeah.
And you're kind of known for riding a twin fin out in some of the bigger surf.
Lately I've been riding twin fins the last couple of years.
Okay.
Rusty's been making most of my boards, but Richie Collins also kind of been helping me advance the twin fin board, the twin fin gun. So with the help of Richie and then also the help of Rusty. We've been experimenting with twin fin guns, and I've been really enjoying that just because it's like the fastest boards I've ever ridden have been the twin fins, and then
Wow.
I still have a lot of control with them, and I can do a little bit tighter arcing turns like I was on a thruster, but I can stay in the pocket and go more pivot upwards. But I got the speed of like even faster than a quad, so it's kind of the best of both worlds for me. And I think there's a lot of still a lot of exploration, a lot of experimentation to be done with a bigger twin fin board and bigger surf.
How'd that come about? Like, did you see someone else ride a twin fin, or was it your idea? Let's try this.
It's actually Richie Collins had some boards. I tried some of his stuff, and then I was like, really noticed I could push just as hard as I could push on my quad or my thruster, but I got more speed out of them. So I just kind of thought about, why don't we take this design and expand it into bigger, boards. So
Yeah.
started with like a 7.6 and then progressed to an 8.0 and then an 8.6 and then 8.9 and then a 9.0. And
Oh, wow.
so it's kind of slowly going up and working with Rusty all these years. He's really good on the computer with designing and coming up with new ideas and working his magic, with design. It's been really, really wonderful to be working with Rusty Priestendorfer since 2008. Been writing his boards, and he's super open-minded, and obviously he's seen it all. He's seen all the trends come through from single fins to twin fins, quads, and I think it's been kind of fun for him to get back to making some twins and some bigger board twins that are seldomly made. And I just enjoy riding those types of boards because I'm not on the tour anymore and I don't have really a lot of competitive obligations. So it allows me to really experiment and not be so in a box like a competitive surfer would.
A lot looser.
Be a lot looser and a lot just more creative juices flowing to change it up and I think just improve my surfing and improve the whole culture of surfing. There's a lot of different ways to ride a board and a lot of different boards to ride and a lot of different ways to surf. You don't have to be a cookie cutter WCT surfer, ride, you don't have to ride exactly what the best guys are riding. You can kind of go off, and if you want to be an artist, that's what usually artists do. They expand and experiment with different templates and different mediums, and it's basically what we're doing with twin fins right now.
So cool. Are those glass on fins, or are they?
They're futures, future fin boxes.
They're futures?
Yeah.
And then, are you trying different fins also on the twin fin side?
I have been, yeah. I've been really trying to find that perfect twin fin template that works in bigger surf. I've kind of found it. There's a Rostovich template that Futures makes that I've been liking. It's not not super big. It's not super small. It's kind of in between size on the twin fin templates, and that's been working good.
That's right.
Yeah.
Actually, let me ask you this: you have a brand new board, and you're working with Rusty, so you guys are probably know each other pretty well. Are you going out on a big day on a new board, or do you kind of work your way up and try it?
I work
I
work my way up. Sunset's kind of my best place to try bigger wave boards,
like training ground.
Yeah, it's the best wave around here to ride, to try a new 9.0 or try like a 8.0 out.
Yep.
Before you ride it, in some more even bigger waves. Just because it is a deep water, I consider it a big wave when it gets bigger and it's deep water. So that's the perfect spot to test equipment. And the fact that you can just park your car right there and catch a wave in, try out different fins, change different boards. It's very accessible right there. It's easy to come in and out of the water on the same day and test equipment.
I do remember, I want to say I remember that you went to the Great Lakes and surf and it was cold. How was it?
Yeah, that was a Red Bull project that Red Bull had me do. It's called Red Bull New Wave. There's some YouTube edits on that you could check out later. But that was really cool experience to do some freshwater surfing on lakes in the middle of America and surf out in Minnesota and the Duluth area, and really nice guys out there, nice community of lake surfers out there, and they do have some really, really fun waves for being, on a lake and landlocked middle America. And
Yeah.
but it definitely really, really cold. It makes Mavericks or Oregon seem tropical.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Were you prepared for it to be that cold? I mean, mentally, I guess.
I was trying to, prepare as best I could. I think I wore like a 6 mil wet. Yeah, I have like a 6 mil wetsuit that Matu's made for me. And I think I was wearing like 7 mil booties and gloves, like super thick rubber. But it lasted, I think, like some of the sessions, like about 90 minutes. So pretty good for like being
really
in waters that are like low 40s, and it's like the air is like upper 30s, and got icicles kind of hanging off your hood, and wherever there's hair, there's ice kind of accumulating in your beard and whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah, we found some really fun waves when we were there, and that was a really cool trip because leading up to that trip, they had some like recon trips for me to go do, and they had like a Red Bull like Albatross seaplane. So we would like fly around the lake in the summer and like scout out locations and places where we thought maybe had good setups to be a good wave and potential. Yeah. And we got to like land on the water, take off the water, and that was just a full like lifetime experience that I'll never forget. Just to like landing on water on a plane, something else. Like one thing to land on a runway and hit cement, but you like swoosh down onto the lake on a plane is really cool. And that was just a really, really nice trip that Red Bull put together for me to do.
Your whole life has basically been a big adventure. You've been all over the world.
Yeah, it's been a super big adventure, and surfing's kind of been my key to that adventure and to experience different cultures and lifestyles and waves, and met so many really nice friends along the way, and people in our our surfing community that have opened their doors and shown me their spots, and it's been an amazing ride. And I'm kind of doing that now and inviting people to my home or taking people on trips and helping them, fulfill their dreams.
Yeah, that's right. And you have a family now too, right?
I do, yeah. I have got a partner, Kate, and Charlie, her daughter, she's 12, and then Ezra, he's 17, and my son Cyrus, he's 12. So yeah, we have two 12-year-olds and a 17-year-old right now. And that's a whole nother journey, being a parent and navigating life as a parent and blending the families. She has two kids from a different relationship, and my son. So it's been a whole new journey last 6 years, merging that together and becoming being a father now for 12 years. It's been an amazing ride, and
that's right.
Really been enjoying fatherhood and enjoying just watching these kids grow up. It happens fast.
That's right. All right. Well, Jamie, thank you so much for coming on the Quivercast. Really stoked, man. I appreciate it. Big time.
Thank you for having me, Mike. Really appreciate the time that you spent with me today and allowing me to talk to your audience about some of the life's adventures and some of the things I've been able to accomplish.
So rad. Crazy the ways you surf, man. 100%. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. This is Mike and Jamie Sterling, and we are out of here. Thank you. Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks, Mike.
Boys and girls hanging round, surfers going up and down. That's when I caught my wave, knew what to do. Surf that wave right to the shore, and yes, dreams come true. Fantastic sunny day, boys and girls hanging around, surfers going up and down. When I caught my wave, knew what to do. Surf that wave right to the shore, and yes, my dream came true.
Hey, you guys. Endless Summer box set. This thing is legit. It's authentic, numbered certificate in it. It has a 5-frame film strip from the original print. You will literally own a piece of history. It has a specially minted bronze medallion. Dude, that thing's sick. Okay, there's so much more here. Go to the show notes. There's a link on there. Go check this piece of history out. This thing's rad. Seriously. Smithsonian American History Museum has it. It took 4 years of research with 3.5 in production, all hand assembled. This thing's rad. So much to this awesome box set. Remastered DVD, sharper images than the original film, but dude, this thing's so sick. Link in the show notes.